Inspirational Stoic quote that gets people hyped up about the video. Some dude with a white beard. Stoicism is a philosophy that has turned into a massive Western phenomenon. The overall theme of Stoicism is to help you develop peace of mind and become confident in your ability to overcome adversity. But why is a philosophy that was created about 2,000 years ago so damn popular right now? Probably because these ancient teachings are practically just as applicable as they were back then, and they are extremely easy to digest, unlike a lot of other philosophies. Since I discovered Stoicism several years ago and read my first book on it, which was Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, there are 3 practices in particular that have had the biggest impact on me. So in an effort to remind myself of their importance and to help you all, I want to go over these 3 practices and how I've applied them to my life to have a greater sense of well-being and to not worry so much about what's going on in the world right now. Say less than is necessary and think before you speak. If this is something I would have applied in the first 20 or so years of my life, it would have saved me so many heartbreaks, missed opportunities, and times of struggle. It was the philosopher Cato who said, "I begin to speak only when I'm certain what I'll say isn't better left unsaid." Most humans are very impulsive thinkers and reactors. We don't give ourselves time to respond upon receiving a stimulus, especially when that stimulus threatens our ego. In my previous relationships, my significant others would frequently give me shit tests. Basically, they'd unconsciously test my character to see how I could handle something that they do or say that would very clearly piss me off. And one of these times was when my then girlfriend went over to my friend's house before she went to see me to get her hair braided. When she first told me this, I let my emotions get the best of me. My initial response to the situation was, "This is a threat. Another dude is going to be braiding your girl's hair. You need to care about this." And my brain would conjure up all the worst case scenarios and a bunch of backup arguments and reasons as to why I should be angry. And so I flipped out on her. I gave her terrible energy and I said something along the lines of like, "Why are you doing that? I'm not comfortable with you doing that and you shouldn't be doing that." And when she left my friend's house and got to my house, the argument continued. There's a very certain feeling you get coursing through your body when you feel some sort of jealousy or insecurity with your significant other. It's like a full body shockwave of emotions. And I let that out through my words, and the rest of the night was ruined due to my reaction. A day or two later, when I finally calmed down, I realized how stupid of a reaction that actually was, and it was just a test of my character and my ability to stay cool under pressure. And when I realized that, I got filled with regret and sadness. Now imagine if I had just said what was necessary. If I just said, "Alright, that's okay," or if I hadn't said anything at all. If I would have just given myself a little bit of time to think rationally about the situation, I could have saved myself days of regret. We are constantly letting our emotions get the best of us, and we react without thinking all of the time. Because humans are very much animalistic. We still have many of those lower level areas of our brains that we share with other animals. The next time you get those same sensations that I feel when my insecurities are being brought up or when someone is challenging whether I'm right or wrong, give yourself a minute or 10 minutes to respond. Make sure what you're about to say is rational and not based on immediate emotional feelings. Or maybe don't respond with anything at all. Sometimes the best response is no response. If there's one thing I've learned through getting myself into pressing stages through my emotional reactions, it's that silence is extremely powerful. Now, regardless of who you are, every once in a while, you will let your emotions get the best of you. Because you're a human being, you're not supposed to be perfect like that. And like the old me, you will get filled with regret and sadness for what's already happened to you. And that's where the second Stoic practice comes in. Accept whatever happens to you as a positive for yourself and the universe. This has been one of the most impactful practices for me in terms of getting through any hardship or suffering. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" These words shook me to my core when I first read them. I don't care whether you believe in fate or not. Don't even think of it as fate. Just think of it as a philosophy to help you handle life's challenges. We all frequently go through unexpected, disheartening scenarios in which we ask ourselves, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? The Stoics have a way of seeing the universe as this overarching, singular intelligence that works for the common good of all. They say that the universe is is governed by the law of reason. And that sacred essence, that law of reason, is totally impersonal. The universe isn't out to get you specifically, it's just following reason and rationality. Just recently, I dealt with being sick for the past week, and I talked about this a little bit in my last video. But I didn't really talk about the things that I was telling myself and the philosophy I was trying to follow to help me get through that time. Now, of course, I struggled a lot. Because when you're sick, not only are you experiencing something that you don't want to experience, but also your brain is much more fatigued when you have a fever. But I kept this Stoic practice in mind, that this was meant to happen to me. This is meant to show me something and fuel my growth as a person. Life isn't supposed to be easy. I need these sort of setbacks so I can look at things more objectively and stay humble. And getting sick really helps you value being healthy so much more, which is something that we all take for granted way too much. There were many positive things for me to take away from getting sick. And on top of that, I tell myself, this is very important, that if this was not meant to further the improvement of not only myself, but society or the world or the universe, then it wouldn't have happened. And I apply that same logic to everything else that has happened to me in the past. Because when I look back on all those things that I deemed to be bad for me in the moment, like everything I did wrong or everything that went wrong, they all eventually were part of a bigger plan to lead me down a path that enhances the flavor of my life's journey. It is total acceptance of everything that happens to you and everything you do as the right thing for both yourself and the universe in the end. And I even apply this on a micro scale. Just yesterday, I decided to slack a little bit more than I usually do towards the end of the day and play Call of Duty for a few hours with my friends. After getting off the game and realizing how late it was and how much time I wasted, I could have very easily beaten myself up and started hating myself for it, but instead I told myself, if you were meant to go crazy hard on your work all day today, then it would have happened. But it didn't, and that's okay. Tomorrow will probably be a big, fulfilling day for you. Fast forward to today, and it has been. Listen, I don't care if you think nothing happens for a reason. Maybe I am living in a delusion, and it is true that nothing happens for a reason, and there is no sort of universal intelligence like that. But from a rational standpoint, why would I choose a mindset that makes suffering and the mistakes that I make harder to deal with? It does not make sense for me to do so, and that is why I choose to live my life this way. I see everything that happens, all the depression, the heartbreaks, the lost friends, the missed opportunities, and what I do wrong, all as perfectly fitting for my life's progress. The last principle ties into the previous two principles, and it's really the embodiment of Stoicism. Focus on what you can control and discard the rest. I believe this is absolutely necessary if you want an effective way of conquering what life throws at you or conquering your depressive stages. Before I was exposed to Stoicism, I often let things that were outside of my control me. For example, how other people feel about me or view me. No matter what you do and how much you people please or try to take preventative measures to get people to like you, there are going to be people in this world that are not going to like you. In fact, there will probably be a lot of people that hate you for no good reason. Since putting myself on the internet, I have so many more people who hate me in this world. And that is completely outside of my control. And the first step is to identify that. The next step is to realize that you have the power over your mind to control how you react to this reality. Believe it or not, you can choose to be indifferent to the external. I really wish I would have understood this principle when I got fired from my first job as a busser or when I failed my chemistry exam in high school. Whenever an uncomfortable or sad situation arises, it's in your best interest to ask yourself these questions. The first is to ask, is this situation in my control? If the answer is yes, then take responsibility for it and do something about it. It wasn't in your control where you started in your life, what genetics you got, or what your family upbringing looked like, but it is your responsibility to act rationally about these things and take responsibility for changing these things, which is in your power. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And if the answer to that question is no, then give it none of your negative emotions. The truth is, life is unpredictable. It's always going to hand you challenges and misfortunes. The one certainty is that uncertainties like this will always happen. I've said this before. And you're not in control of this. The past is completely outside of your control, and much of what's going to happen to you in the future is totally outside of your control. But you have the power within your mind to react rationally to what has already happened and what's going to happen next. So take responsibility, live virtuously, and take your power back. Stoicism is something that I think needs to be constantly learned, constantly reminded of if you really want to keep these practices in place throughout your life. So I'm going to leave some of my favorite books on Stoicism, no matter if you're a beginner or an expert, in the description below, so go check those out. I know all of you aspiring Stoics out there are eager to learn more and improve yourself, and that's why we got the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. You guys probably know what Skillshare is already. It's an online learning community that has thousands of inspiring classes for creators and people just trying to better themselves in their life. They have a bunch of classes on productivity, business, entrepreneurship, and even Stoicism. It was the Stoic philosopher Seneca who said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And so if you're truly trying to live a more intentional life like a Stoic, I recommend the class Simple Productivity: How to Accomplish More with Less by Greg McKeown. And what do you know, in that class he goes further into detail about mastering the art of the slow yes, aka what I was talking about when I meant thinking before you speak, and just a ton of other lessons in that class that relate to focusing on what's actually important in life and what's actually going to produce results in your life. And it's curated specifically for learning. That means there's no ads on the platform, and they're always adding new classes every time I come back. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial to Skillshare Premium, so you can start exploring your creativity today. They are only doing the 1-month free trial until the end of September. Usually I think it's like 2 weeks, so go take advantage of getting a whole month free and click the link in my description to do that. And as always, thank you to all the patrons on this channel on Patreon. You can check out that platform where I'm putting out exclusive videos and podcasts in the description as well. And that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your Stoic principles that you follow as well. And that's it. Goodbye.